They seated me by the swinging door, half a step from the catering line. 3 steps from the trash bins, so close I could smell the rosemary chicken before anyone else. At my brother's wedding, in a ballroom glittering with chandeliers and wealth, I wasn't family. I was logistics. My name is Maya Sterling. I'm 33, and for the past 9 years, I've been the CFO of Sterling Sons Modular, a mid-sized construction and fabrication firm in Austin, Texas. My grandfather poured concrete. My father mastered charm. Somewhere between the two, I learned to pore over contracts until the numbers aligned. That night, everyone behaved, except the seating chart. Is something wrong? Asked Evelyn Hart, the bride's mother, her smile polished to perfection. I'm seated in the kitchen, I said, with your planner, your photographer's assistant, and 2 busboys named Diego and Rob who seemed to wonder who I offended. Evelyn's smile didn't falter. You're so good with details, dear. We thought you'd be happiest near the team. I'm the groom's sister. And the company's numbers woman, she replied lightly, as if quiet and invisible were synonyms. We all have our roles. Across the room, my brother, Ben radiant in champagne light and new happiness, caught my eye and gave a small, helpless shrug before turning back to his new wife, Lena, and Evelyn, a woman who could redecorate a life by brunch. I endured the toasts. I held on until Evelyn, with a delicate tink of crystal, declared, "Today begins a union, not just of hearts, but of futures." A projection bloomed behind her, a sizzle reel showcasing Heart Meridian developments, luxury towers, private lakes, and airbrushed people who belonged. Sterling Sons logo appeared in the corner. Shrunk to a watermark as Evelyn purred, "We're thrilled to integrate with our favorite builders." Integrate. I placed my napkin on the table like a flag I refused to surrender and walked out, past the glitter and music, past waiters balancing champagne flutes that never spilled. My phone buzzed before I reached the valet. "Ben, don't make this about you." 5 words that explained everything and changed everything. On Monday, I did what I always do when adrenaline demands control. I opened a spreadsheet. We'd renewed our framework agreement with Heart Meridian 3 months earlier. I'd fought for clauses ensuring fair margins, sane schedules, and tolerable risk. We were their preferred modular partner in Central Texas. 40% of our pipeline was Heart Meridian work. 60% came from municipal contracts, hospitals, schools, and warehouses. Diversified, but exposed like a house beautiful on every side except the one with termites. I went looking for termites. They wore tuxedos with cufflinks. A series of transfers, 48,900, 49,200, 49,850, small enough to evade automatic flags, consistent enough to form a pattern. Each funneled through a vendor subledger to Arbor Creek Ventures, an entity I'd never encountered. The paper trail played coy but led straight to Benedict Sterling, my brother, Executive Vice President of Client Relations, with a smile big on the website and an ego bigger in meetings where volume passed for gravitas. The total over 18 months. 1. 7 million. Follow the money. Find the plan. Arbor Creek Ventures held stakes in 5 Heart Meridian shells. In plain terms, my brother had diverted company funds to prop up his in-laws' projects and to buy himself a seat at their table. I printed the ledger, bank statements, and vendor logs. My hands shook only when I recalled the waiter's kind face as he said the annex had a great view of the kitchen. I knocked on my father's door. Grant Sterling looked 10 years older than he had in July. Gray had settled into his hair like a tenant paying in size. He forced a smile, the kind that begs you not to notice the oxygen tank behind the desk. "Got a minute?" I asked. "For you?" He gestured to a chair. "Always." I spread the documents between us. "Tell me you didn't know." His eyes did something terrible. They didn't widen. They dropped. "I wondered when you'd find it," he said softly. I went cold, shock building a moat around rage. "You authorized this?" "I approved investments," he said. "Ben needs wins with the Hearts. They're family now." "They're clients, Dad, and sometimes clients eat family for dessert. It's strategic capital." His voice hardened, the old patriarch surfacing. Don't be naive. Naive, I echoed, because sometimes repeating is the only way to keep from screaming. Like seating your daughter with the staff at her brother's wedding so the in-laws can practice treating us as props? He flinched. That was a misunderstanding. Like the merger you're planning without your CFO? I slid another printout across the desk. Draft terms, timelines, and obituaries for our independence. How long have you been negotiating with Heart Meridian? He stared at the Austin skyline, glowing like it was on our side. Months. And in this brave new world, I said, what happens to me? He hesitated, the truth ungentle. There'd be consolidation. Evelyn's team would lead finance post-integration. We'd find you a consulting role. Less pressure. Time for life. Life? I said, calmer than I felt. Like the kind where I'm allowed in the ballroom. His eyes grew damp. Maya, how sick are you? What? You think I don't see the meds? The doctor's calls you take with the door accidentally open? How sick, Dad? He looked at his hands, at photos of us fishing where we pretended fish were consultants. Stage 4, he said. Immunotherapy. We don't know how long. The room tilted. The future reshaped into something unrecognizable. He reached for me, and I let him hold my hand, because love and anger are rude roommates who share a couch without asking. I'm trying to secure the company, he said. For you. For Ben. For Evelyn, I said. He didn't deny it. When emotion threatens to steer, return to leverage. My professor's words. So I reread the Heart Meridian contract I'd negotiated. There it was. Section 14C, a termination clause for material corporate restructuring or merger activity, executable by CEO or CFO with 30 days notice. I'd fought for it because risk has a taste, and Heart Meridian's flavor was champagne poured over a sink. I stared at the clause. I thought of oxygen tanks, wedding annexes, and Ben's text like he was doing me a favor. Then I called Patrice Nolan, our counsel, who writes letters that sound like silk and cut like subpoenas. You're clean on authority, Patrice said after reading the clause twice and whistling once. The question isn't, can you? It's, should you? We modeled scenarios into the night. We could weather losing Heart Meridian. They couldn't easily replace us. Their pre-sales were a timeline defying physics. Ours was a backbone seeking a better partner. Sleep, Patrice said at midnight. Tomorrow, decide if you need permission from people who sat you by a swinging door. I didn't sleep. I built a plan. Step 1, people. I met Samir Torres, our operations head, who can build a hospital wing before you name the pain. I met Jules Kim in HR, Rafa Alvarez in procurement, Lydia in project control. I didn't tell them everything, just enough. Their faces relaxed, a relief that comes when the adult in the room decides to act like one. Step 2, pipeline. I met Michael Norton of Norton Lake, a developer my father had sidelined to keep Evelyn's praise. Michael's eyebrows rose at exclusive window and modular acceleration for 3 civic projects. His handshake said more than his lawyer's email 2 hours later. Step 3, proof. I recorded my next talk with Ben. Texas is one-party consent, so is corporate memory. He sauntered into my office Wednesday, tanned like he'd been promoted to untouchable. You're avoiding me, he said. We need to talk strategy. Which one? I asked. The wedding where a sister becomes staff? The merger where Heart Meridian swallows us and calls it family? Or the cash diversion where Arbor Creek Ventures becomes a sad trust fund? His jaw tightened. Dad approved those transfers. He approved Evelyn's narrative, I said. Your name's on the wires. Then blame Dad. You want me to throw a dying man under the bus because you wanted better seats? Ben glanced at the door, voice a hiss. Grow up, Maya. This is how it works at the next level. You'd know if you left your spreadsheets. Leaving spreadsheets means letting others do my math, I said. I'm not built that way. He smiled, pitying and sharp. You're not built for what's next. Evelyn's team will lead finance. You'll consult, work less, maybe date. Win-win. My title says CFO. It says temporary obstacle, he snapped. Sign the transition plan or you're out with nothing. He left before I could say, nothing is a space you can fill if you know how. Step 4, notice. Friday, 7:05 a.m., I slid a signed, courier-stamped termination of framework agreement across Heart Meridian's marbled reception, left another in legal, and emailed copies to Evelyn with a subject line like poetry. Notice under Section 14C. At 8:30 a.m., I called an emergency board meeting at Sterling Sons. At 8:47, Ben burst in, Lena on his heels, her face expensively furious. At 8:50, Evelyn Hart swept into our conference room, uninvited, holding my notice like it smelled. What is this? Evelyn demanded, eyes on my father. Grant, tell your daughter to retract this stunt. We have a showcase at noon. My father looked at me, seeing me for the first time in months. Maya? I stood. Over 18 months. 1. $7 million in company funds were redirected to a holding entity controlled by Ben Sterling and invested in Heart Meridian shells. Without board disclosure, without CFO approval. Evelyn's laugh never touched a child's eyes. Family capital shifts for synergy. Surely you understand. Sterling Sons isn't a piggy bank, I said. It's a company with fiduciary duty. An old company, she replied, with outdated methods. We offer relevance. We offer your father peace. Ben shoved a folder across the table. Draft integration. Everyone wins. Jules Kim grabbed it first, flipped, snorted. Everyone except 73 employees whose roles vanish. She passed it to Samir. And everyone except Ben, who becomes vice president. Community outreach. No PL, no headcount. Ben paled. That's not final? I said. It's amazing how draft becomes destiny when you sign with disappearing ink. Evelyn turned to my father, voice soft enough to win elections. Grant, you're tired. This is nonsense. Rescind the notice. My father's breath rattled. Is it nonsense, Maya? Patrice spoke, cool and calm. Section 14C grants termination authority to the CEO or CFO upon material restructuring. Heart Meridian's press release this morning announced advanced integration talks with us. The notice is valid, timely, and effective. Nobody moved. Then Evelyn smiled, collecting hearts. If you want war, we'll bring one you can't afford. You already did, I said, at my brother's wedding. Lena's composure cracked. She hissed into Ben's ear, not softly enough. Fix this. He didn't know how. My father stood, slow and tall. I move, we affirm the CFO's termination of the Heart Meridian agreement, effective immediately, and open an inquiry into unauthorized transfers. Second, said Eleanor Wright, board chair, voice like a gavel. Hands rose. Ben stayed down. The motion carried. Evelyn's smile turned acid. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but not from the kitchen. Security escorted them out. Lena didn't look back. My father sank into his chair, hand trembling over his mouth. Maya, he said, voice breaking, I'm sorry. For the wedding. For everything. Some apologies arrived like rain after a drought, soft, late, necessary. I nodded. He reached for my hand, and I let him, because forgiveness is a road, not a line. Heart Meridian's showcase faltered without its crown jewel. By market close, their stock fell 9%. By Monday, 2 lenders demanded updated timelines. We were busy. Norton Lake signed a 3-project deal to keep our crews working through winter. Samir built Gantt charts like battle plans. Jules drafted retention bonuses for those we couldn't lose. I wrote a memo I'd needed my whole career. Compensation conversations must be answered in 30 days. Yes, no, or plan. Because silence isn't strategy. It's disrespect. 3 weeks later, my mother appeared in my office. Perfection her armor. You humiliated our family, she said, skipping hello. Your father's sicker. Your brother's devastated. Was it worth it? I protected our people, I said, and our name. You protected your pride. They seated me with the staff. She looked away. That was unfortunate. It was deliberate, I said. So was the merger. So was the theft. She stood. I hope the company keeps you warm at night. I hope the truth does, I said, softer than she expected. That afternoon, IT flagged 2 intrusion attempts. Anonymous emails followed, tipping city inspectors to non-existent safety violations. Pressure makes bullies creative. We documented everything, kept our heads down, helmets on. A month later, a young man waited outside my office in a suit that didn't fit his caution. I'm Adam Hart, he said, standing quickly. Lena's brother. Every muscle tensed toward the door. I'm not here to threaten you, he said, hands raised. I'm tired. He placed a flash drive on my desk, cautious as if it might bite. Loan covenants, pre-sale schedules, internal emails. Dad overextended. Without a partner to build at a discount, Heart Meridian collapses by spring. Why give this to me? Because I watched my sister make seating charts like war plans. Because your brother didn't deserve to be used as an entry pass. Because you were right, and no one in my house can say it. I didn't touch the drive. Do you want me to save you? He shook his head. I want you to see the whole board. He left. I locked the drive in a safe. I didn't need their ruin to validate my choice. I had my own. 2 nights later, my father asked me to the house. He looked smaller in his leather chair, like it was learning to be gentle. I changed the succession plan, he said. Operational control and majority voting rights passed to you upon my death. Ben keeps his shares. I can't fix everything I broke, but I can fix this. Tears are an unscheduled audit. We let them fall, quiet as forgiveness. The door opened. Ben stood there, unshaven, brittle. I can't believe you did this to me, he said. I didn't seat myself in the kitchen, I said. I didn't sign the wires. He dropped papers on the coffee table emails I'd never seen. Evelyn and Lena plotting timelines, calling Ben eager to please, and me an obstacle to manage. The word target appeared twice. He read them. He broke. We all did. A little. Where do we go from here? He asked, not looking at us. Work, I said. Therapy. Maybe a beer that tastes like accountability. He laughed, a shocked bark. It wasn't forgiveness. It was a start. Spring came late. My father left early. He died holding my hand, whispering, I'm proud. Pride became a currency I spent carefully. We rebuilt quietly. We changed our logo not for a new brand, but because the old one had learned to apologize. We launched an apprenticeship program for women and veterans. He forced ethics into vendor contracts. No miscellaneous marketing lines hiding favors. No friends and family exceptions subsidizing disrespect. I see Evelyn sometimes in articles, on screens, once in a lobby where she seemed surprised to see me in a dress that said, I belong in every room. Heart Meridian survived, then shrank. Their projects grew less glossy, more real. I heard Adam started a sustainable infill venture. I wish him well. Not every villain needs to stay one. At home, a framed photo of Ben and me, 6 and 10, holds a fish skeptical of us both. Some Sundays, we manage brunch. He says, I was stupid, and I say, you were hungry. And we pretend those sentences are maps. This story isn't about revenge. It's about removal taking power from those who use it to humiliate, stripping permission from a narrative that told me to sit by the swinging door and be grateful. It's about choosing the ballroom you build over the one you're assigned. Most days, that choice is ordinary. A contract clause, a calm boardroom, a budget that puts people where your press releases claim they are. Some days, it's walking out of a wedding before the cake, because the slice offered isn't food, it's training. After we finished our first hospital wing with Norton Lake, I stood in the empty corridor, listening to the echo of usefulness. Soon, nurses would wheel lives through here, holding sadness, joy, and everything between. No one would know our names. That invisibility felt right. I texted Ben a photo of the plaque with our company name. He replied with a thumbs up, and a minute later, proud of you. I typed me too, but didn't send it. Some truths don't need delivery to arrive. They didn't fire me for being loyal to myself. They never got the chance. I resigned from their story and accepted my own. If that sounds neat, it isn't. Endings are just where the camera pauses. The last line is simple. I don't sit by kitchen doors anymore. I write the seating chart, and there's always a chair for the person everyone underestimates. The one who reads every clause and saves us when the chandeliers flicker. He forced